Questions. My dear friends, let me ask you a simple question. Have you ever met someone who says, Bro, I'm so stressed today. I think I'm addicted to happiness. And no one ever says that. Questions. But if you ask, are you stressed? People will start a PowerPoint presentation of their problems. And I tell you, these days, stress has become so fashionable. If you say, questions, I'm peaceful, people look at you like, what's wrong with you? But here's the truth, everyone wants happiness. Few understand it, and even fewer practice it. So today, questions. Let's take a small journey, a joyful one, to discover the best way to stay happy. Once there were two buckets in a well. Every morning they'd go up and down together. One day, questions, the sad bucket said, every time I go up full, I come down empty. Life is useless. The other bucket smiled and said, every time I go down empty, I come up full. Questions, life is beautiful, but same situation. Two perspectives. My friends, happiness doesn't come from what happens to us. It comes from how we look at it. Life will always give us situations, questions, some good, some bad, some very confusing. But between what happens to us and how we react, there's a small gap. And in that gap lies our freedom to choose happiness. As I often say, questions, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. You don't get six-pack abs by watching fitness videos, right? You get them by doing the work. Similarly, questions. Happiness isn't automatic. It's a daily practice. Meditate, reflect, write gratitude lists. Read something uplifting every day. Even 5 minutes of self-connection can change your whole day. Questions. Remember, a calm mind is the cradle of happiness. A little boy once asked his grandfather, Grandpa, why do I feel happy one moment and angry the next? The grandfather smiled and said, questions. Because inside each of us there are two wolves. One is angry, jealous, negative. The other is kind, peaceful, loving. The boy asked, which one wins? Grandfather said, questions. The one you feed, my friends, every single day we are feeding something through what we watch, what we read, and who we spend time with. If you want to stay happy, feed your good wolf. Questions. Limit your time on toxic social media. Stop comparing your behind the scenes with someone else's highlight reel, because happiness begins when comparison ends. Once a man came to a monk and said, questions. Master, I want happiness. The monk smiled and said, do first remove I, that's ego. Then remove want, that's desire. Now what's left? Questions. Happiness. We complicate life so much when happiness is actually our natural state. We are born happy, then we grow up and start collecting stress like it's a hobby. Questions. You don't need everything to be perfect to be happy. You just need to be grateful for what is already good. When you wake up in the morning, instead of saying, oh no, another Monday, say, questions. Oh wow, another day. Because someone somewhere didn't get that chance today. Gratitude turns ordinary moments into blessings and problems into lessons. Questions. We live in a world where people are using people and loving things. It should be the other way around. Love people, use things. I once asked a man, questions. How many people cried when your phone broke? He said, none. I said, exactly. That's how much it really matters. Don't let gadgets replace genuine connections. In the end, questions. Happiness is not found in a screen. It's found in a smile. A monk once dropped his favorite teacup and it shattered. Everyone expected him to be sad, but he calmly said, questions. It was already broken. He explained, I always knew that one day it would break. Maybe today, maybe another day. Questions. So I enjoyed it fully while it lasted. That's detachment, not lack of love, but lack of control. Everything in life is temporary. Our problems, our pleasures, even our pain. Questions. So instead of resisting change, flow with it. Because the more you cling, the more you suffer. Happiness is not holding on, it's letting go. There's a simple formula. Questions. When you help someone else smile, your own heart starts smiling. Do small acts of kindness. Help an old person cross the road. Listen to someone without judging. Donate a little. Questions. Volunteer a little. Because happiness grows when shared. Imagine driving a car with full fuel, but no destination. You'll just go in circles. That's what many people do. They wake up, rush, eat, sleep, repeat, and call it life. Purpose gives direction. Direction gives meaning. Meaning gives happiness. Ask yourself every day questions. How can I use my gifts to make the world a bit better? One morning, a man looked into a dirty mirror and said, "This mirror is terrible." Questions. I can't see anything. His wife laughed and said, "The mirror is fine. It's just your face that needs washing." Similarly, we often blame the world for our unhappiness. Questions. But maybe it's our heart that needs cleansing. Of grudges, resentment, and ego. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Questions. Forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. My dear friends, the best way to stay happy is not to chase happiness. It's to live meaningfully. Questions. Happiness is not a destination, it's the way you travel. So let's live lightly, love deeply, and laugh freely. Let's feed the good wolf. Let's be grateful. Let's serve, forgive, and grow. Questions. And one day when someone asks, "What's the secret of your happiness?" you can simply smile and say, "I stopped chasing it. I started living it. But thank you very much." Questions. My dear friends, let's begin with a truth that can change your entire outlook on life. Happiness is not something that happens to us. It is something we choose. Think about it. Every single day. Questions. Life gives us reasons to smile and reasons to frown. Some days the sun shines beautifully, and some days it rains so hard that even Google Maps can't find your happiness. Questions. But whether we smile or sulk, that's completely our choice. Most people believe happiness depends on perfect circumstances. A great job, a beautiful home, a loving partner, or a fat bank balance. Questions. But if happiness really depended on those things, then only millionaires and celebrities would be happy. Yet look around. Some of the wealthiest people live the saddest lives. And at the same time, questions. You'll meet a poor chaiwala on the roadside who smiles as if he owns the world. Why? Because one has made comfort the condition for happiness, and the other has made gratitude the reason for it. Questions. Let's take a simple daily life example. Imagine two people stuck in the same traffic jam. Both are getting late for work. Both are sitting in the same heat. Both can't move their car an inch. Questions. One person is banging the steering wheel, shouting at others, and boiling with frustration. The other has rolled down the window, playing soft music and sipping tea from a flask he brought along. Questions. The traffic is the same, but their choice is different. One has chosen to suffer, the other has chosen to stay calm. That's the power of perspective. Circumstances don't create happiness. Questions, our interpretation does. When we say, "I'll be happy when," that when becomes a trap. Questions. I'll be happy when I get a promotion. I'll be happy when I lose 10 kilos. I'll be happy when I buy a car. But by the time we reach that goal, questions, the mind creates a new win. We keep chasing happiness like a mirage in a desert, always running, never arriving. Real happiness begins when we say, "I choose to be happy now." Questions. With what I have while working for what I want. Let's take an example from relationships. A husband comes home tired. His wife has prepared dinner, but he's upset because his boss scolded him. Questions. He sits silently scrolling his phone. The wife too gets irritated. He never talks anymore. Both are in the same room, yet miles apart emotionally. Questions. If either of them chooses to break the pattern, the husband smiles and says, "You must have had a long day too. Thank you for dinner." Or the wife gently puts her hand on his and says, questions. Tough day at work. That simple choice can change the entire atmosphere of the house. Happiness begins when one person chooses peace over ego. Questions. Life is not what happens to us. It's what we make out of it. I remember once asking a man, "How are you?" He said, "Good under the circumstances." I smiled and asked, "So, questions. What are you doing under the circumstances? You should be above them." We all live under circumstances when we let them control our emotions. Questions. But we rise above them when we learn to control our response. Let's be honest, it's not easy. When things go wrong, when people hurt you, when plans fail, happiness doesn't come naturally. Questions. But that's why it's powerful, because it's chosen. There's a beautiful line that says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. Questions. In that space lies our freedom to choose. That space is the birthplace of happiness. For example, you wake up in the morning, ready for an important day, and suddenly, the power goes out. Questions. You can't iron your clothes, can't make coffee, can't even charge your phone. You have two options: complain, curse, and spoil your morning. Or smile, take a deep breath, and say, okay. Questions. Let's manage differently today. Same situation, 2 different days. The outer world didn't change. Your inner world did. The happiest people are not those who have the best of everything. Questions. But those who make the best of everything they have. When you start seeing challenges as lessons, failures as feedback, and delays as divine timing, your entire experience of life changes. Questions. You start living in acceptance, not resistance. Think of a tree in a storm. The wind may be fierce, but the tree that bends doesn't break. Questions. Happiness is like that flexibility. It's not about avoiding the storm, but learning to sway with it. In our daily life, there will always be things we can't control. People's opinions, questions, traffic, weather, the economy, politics, but there will always be something we can control. Our thoughts, our attitude, and our response. Happiness is built on focusing on that second category. Questions. One lady once told me, "I can't be happy. My life is too hard." I said, "Maybe life is not hard. Maybe you're thinking about life is." She looked at me confused. I told her, questions. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And she smiled for the first time that day. That's the magic of choosing happiness. It begins inside, questions, and then colors everything outside. Let's make it practical. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, take a pause before you touch your phone. Place your hand on your heart and say, today, questions, I choose happiness. It sounds simple, but you'll be amazed how this one decision starts shaping your day differently. The traffic, the noise, the workload, nothing will disappear. Questions. But your peace will remain intact because you've already decided your mood. Life is not perfect, and it never will be. There will be bills to pay, people to deal with, deadlines to meet, questions, and dreams to chase. But amidst all that, if we can learn to say, I choose to smile anyway, we become unstoppable. Remember, happiness is not an outcome. It's an outlook. Questions. It's not about having everything right, it's about seeing everything rightly. So next time life tests you, pause, breathe, and smile. Remind yourself, happiness is my decision, questions, not life's permission. Because in the end, it's not the situation that defines your happiness. It's you. Questions. My dear friends, we all know how much effort people put into training their bodies these days. You go to the gym, you lift weights, you stretch, you sweat, questions. You push yourself because you know if you stop exercising, your body becomes weak, lazy, and unhealthy. But have you ever thought that your mind works the same way? Your mind is also a muscle. Questions. If you don't train it, it starts getting lazy, negative, and fragile. We live in a world where we are constantly training our bodies, but forgetting to train our minds. Questions. We buy expensive gym memberships, but we let our minds stay full of stress and complaints. Questions. We care so much about our diet, avoiding junk food for the body, yet we keep feeding our minds with junk thoughts, toxic news, gossip, and comparisons. Then we wonder, why do I feel anxious? Questions. Why do I feel unhappy? It's simple. A weak mind cannot carry a happy life. Training your mind doesn't mean you have to become a monk or meditate in the mountains. Questions. It simply means developing mental fitness. The ability to stay calm, grateful, and focused no matter what happens around you. Let's take a simple example. Questions. Imagine two people go through the same failure. Say they both lose their jobs. One person falls apart. They say, "My life is over. I'm worthless." The other takes a deep breath and says, "Questions. Okay, this is painful, but maybe it's a chance to grow, to find something better." The difference isn't the situation. It's the strength of their mind. Questions. One has trained the mind to collapse, the other has trained it to rise. Just like your body needs daily workouts, your mind also needs daily workouts. Small, consistent habits that build resilience. Questions. When you lift weights in the gym, the muscle tears and rebuilds stronger. Similarly, when life challenges you, it's not breaking you. It's building your inner strength. But for that, questions. You must choose to respond, not react. Let's look at how we train our minds every day, often without realizing it. For example, questions. When you scroll social media and constantly compare your life with others, you are training your mind to feel inadequate. When you keep complaining about every small problem, questions. You are training your mind to find faults. When you gossip about others, you are training your mind to focus on negativity. Slowly, that becomes your default setting. Questions. But when you make a habit of gratitude, even if it's just saying thank you for your morning cup of tea, you are training your mind to find joy. When you meditate for 5 minutes, questions, you are training your mind to stay calm. When you forgive someone, you are training your mind to let go. These small habits are mental push-ups, invisible but powerful. Questions. I remember a story about a young man who once visited a wise monk. He said, "I master, my mind keeps running everywhere. I can't control my thoughts. How do I stop it?" The monk smiled and said, "Questions. You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf." That's the essence of mental training. You can't stop problems, but you can train your mind to stay balanced while facing them. Questions. Let's make it relatable. Suppose you're stuck in traffic, you're late, and someone cuts in front of you. Instantly, anger rises. You start shouting inside your car. But what happens next? Questions. Nothing. The traffic doesn't move faster. Your anger doesn't solve the problem, and you only ruin your peace. But if you've trained your mind, you'll pause, breathe, and smile. Questions. You'll think, getting angry won't clear the traffic, but staying calm will clear my mind. That's training in action. Not avoiding chaos, but staying peaceful within it. Questions. Training your mind is like charging your phone. If you don't plug it in every day, it runs out of battery. The same happens with your mind. When you don't recharge it through reflection, silence, questions, or positivity, you feel drained no matter how much you sleep or eat. Many people say, "I don't have time to meditate," but they have time to scroll for hours. Questions. It's not about time, it's about priority. Even 10 minutes of silence, 10 minutes of deep breathing, or 10 minutes of gratitude journaling can change the tone of your day. Questions. It's not the duration that matters, it's the discipline. Your mind is the factory that produces your life experiences. If the factory is chaotic, the products will be too. If the mind is noisy, questions, life feels stressful. But if the mind is peaceful, life feels meaningful. That's why training your mind is not a luxury. It's a necessity. Questions. There's a beautiful practice you can start today, the pause technique. Whenever something irritates you, a rude person, a bad comment, a small mistake, just pause. Questions. Take one deep breath before reacting. That one breath is like a dumbbell curl for your mind. The more you practice, the stronger your emotional control becomes. Over time, people may still annoy you. Questions. Life may still challenge you, but you notice you don't break easily anymore. Think of your mind like a garden. If you don't take care of it, weeds, negativity, fear, questions, jealousy will grow automatically. But if you water it with positive thoughts, sunlight of gratitude, and seeds of learning, it will bloom beautifully. The choice is yours. Neglect it, questions, or nurture it. Let's take another small example. When a student studies for an exam, they don't just read once and stop. They revise, they practice, they stay consistent. Questions. That's how they build knowledge. Similarly, when you train your mind every day with gratitude, patience, and reflection, you build emotional intelligence. Then, questions. When life gives you a surprise test, like failure or rejection, you're ready. Remember, your outer success will always depend on your inner stability. You can't control the world. Questions. But you can control how your mind sees the world. And that's where true power lies. So, train your mind just like a gym athlete trains their body. Wake up and feed it with positive thoughts. Questions. Stretch it with patience. Strengthen it with gratitude. Rest it with silence. And use it to lift the weight of life with grace. Because the more you train your mind, the lighter your life becomes. Questions. A strong mind doesn't mean a life without problems. It means a life where problems no longer have power over you. And that, my friends, questions, is real happiness. Not a result of what happens around you, but what's happening within you. Questions. My dear friends, our mind is like a beautiful garden. Whatever we plant in it grows. If we plant seeds of positivity, kindness, and gratitude, our life blooms with peace and joy. Questions. But if we allow weeds of negativity, anger, and comparison to grow, soon that garden becomes overrun and lifeless. Questions. That is why we must learn to protect our mind from negativity, because what we allow in silently shapes what comes out. In today's world, questions. Our minds are constantly under attack, not from physical dangers, but from mental ones. The news is full of fear, social media is full of comparison, and many conversations are full of complaints. Questions. Every scroll, every post, every comment is like a drop of water falling into the garden of your mind. And if those drops are toxic, it doesn't take long before your inner peace begins to fade. Questions. Imagine waking up in the morning and the first thing you do is open your phone. You see someone on a vacation, someone buying a new car. Questions. Someone posting their perfect relationship photo, and suddenly your peaceful morning is gone. You start comparing consciously or unconsciously. You start thinking. Questions. Why not me? Why is their life better? You haven't even brushed your teeth yet, but your mind is already exhausted. Isn't that true? Negativity often enters our lives quietly. Questions. It doesn't knock on the door. It sneaks in through small cracks, a complaint here, a judgment there, a bit of gossip, a pinch of jealousy. It starts small, but over time it grows into anxiety, questions, frustration, and unhappiness. That's why it's not enough to avoid negative people. We must also avoid becoming one. Let me share a small story. Once there was a monk who always stayed peaceful. Questions. No matter how others behaved. One day a man came to him and began insulting him badly. The monk sat silently and smiled. The man got even angrier and shouted, questions. Why don't you say something? The monk replied gently, if someone offers you a gift and you don't accept it, who does it belong to? The man said, questions. It remains with the giver. The monk smiled and said, exactly. I did not accept your anger, so it still belongs to you. That, my friends, is what protecting your mind looks like. Questions. You can't stop people from being rude, but you can stop their rudeness from entering your peace. In daily life, we face many such moments. Someone cuts you off in traffic, a coworker criticizes you, questions, a friend forgets your birthday, a family member says something hurtful. Each of these moments is like a test, a knock on the door of your mind. If you open the door, negativity walks in, questions. But if you stay calm and say, no entry, your peace stays safe inside. One of the easiest ways negativity enters our lives is through comparison. Questions. We keep comparing our life to others. Our looks, our career, our relationships, our achievements. But comparison is the thief of joy. Every time you compare yourself, you are telling your mind, questions. I'm not enough. And slowly your confidence, your gratitude, your happiness all begin to fade. Let me give you a simple example. Questions. Suppose two flowers grow in the same garden, a rose and a sunflower. The rose never looks at the sunflower and says, why are you so tall? The sunflower never says, questions. Why do you smell so good? Each simply blooms in its own way, in its own time. But we humans, we keep looking at others and forget to bloom where we are. Questions. Protecting your mind means accepting yourself, fully, joyfully, peacefully. Another powerful way negativity enters is through the content we consume. Our mind is like a sponge. Questions. It absorbs everything. If you fill it with violence, gossip, and criticism, it becomes restless. But if you fill it with wisdom, laughter, and inspiration, it becomes peaceful. Questions. You are what you feed your mind. Just like you wouldn't eat spoiled food, don't feed your mind spoiled thoughts. There's a beautiful saying, questions. Don't let someone's darkness do your light. It means don't let other people's negativity become your energy. When someone speaks harshly, when life becomes unfair, questions. When things don't go as planned, don't let that darkness enter your heart. Protect your peace like a priceless jewel. Questions. It's also important to understand that negativity doesn't always come from others. Sometimes it comes from ourselves. That inner critic that keeps whispering, questions. You're not good enough. You can't do it. You'll fail. That voice has to be trained and tamed. The best way to silence that voice is to speak louder with kindness. Tell yourself, questions. I'm learning. I'm growing. I'm trying. Positive self-talk is not arrogance, it's self-care. Let's take an example from real life. Questions. Imagine two people working on the same project. One says, this is too difficult. I'll never finish. The other says, this is difficult, questions, but I'll find a way. The first person's mind becomes tired even before starting. The second person's mind becomes sharp and determined. The challenge is the same. The mindset is different. Questions. Protecting your mind means choosing empowering thoughts even in challenging times. Another important practice is choosing your company wisely. You don't have to cut people out of your life, questions, but you must filter the energy you let in. If you spend time with people who constantly complain, criticize, and gossip, you'll soon start doing the same, questions. But if you surround yourself with people who uplift, encourage, and inspire, your whole energy changes. Just as you become like the food you eat, you also become like the company you keep, questions. And sometimes the best way to protect your mind is silence. Not every battle deserves your words. Not every insult deserves your response. When you stay silent, you're not weak. You're wise, questions. You're choosing peace over proving your point. In the end, my dear friends, protecting your mind from negativity is not about ignoring reality. It's about choosing your response consciously. Questions. It's about realizing that you cannot control the world, but you can control what you let inside your world. So guard your mind like a temple. Don't let every thought, every comment, questions, every fear enter freely. Keep your mental gate strong. Read good books, listen to positive talks, spend time in nature. laugh with your loved ones, and stay grateful. Questions. Because when your mind is peaceful, your life automatically becomes powerful. Negativity may knock, but your inner peace should always answer with a smile that says, "Not today." Questions. My dear friends, in a world that glorifies being busy, we have forgotten the beauty of being peaceful. We are constantly running, constantly chasing, constantly collecting, but rarely pausing. Questions. We think happiness hides in having more. More success, more possessions, more recognition. But the truth is, happiness often hides in having less. Questions. The secret to a joyful life is not in adding more things, but in removing what no longer serves your peace. In other words, simplify your life. Questions. Look around, people today have more gadgets but less time, more comfort but less contentment, more information but less wisdom. We've made life faster but not happier. Every notification, questions, every deadline, every demand pulls our attention in 100 directions. And we wonder why we feel so restless. It's not because life is too complicated. Questions. It's because we've complicated it ourselves. Simplifying life doesn't mean you have to live in a cave or give up everything. It simply means choosing clarity over clutter. Questions. It means learning to say no to what drains your energy, so you can say yes to what truly matters. Let's take a simple example from daily life. Questions. Have you ever opened your wardrobe and thought, I have nothing to wear, even though it's full of clothes? That's not a wardrobe problem. That's a clutter problem. Questions. Too many choices confuse the mind. When there's too much of everything, even small decisions feel heavy. But when you declutter, when you keep only what you love and use, suddenly, questions, everything feels lighter. The same applies to your mind. When you declutter unnecessary worries, opinions, and expectations, life becomes much simpler and more peaceful. There's a beautiful saying, questions, the things you own end up owning you. Every item we collect, every responsibility we accept, every thought we overthink, they all take a little piece of our peace. Questions. We keep trying to manage everything, forgetting that managing too much is exactly what's managing us. Simplifying your life is about making space. Space in your home, space in your heart, questions, and space in your mind. It's about knowing what's essential and letting go of the rest. Let's talk about the mind clutter. Have you noticed how many thoughts we carry every single day? Questions. Worrying about what people think, replaying old mistakes, predicting the future, comparing ourselves with others. Our minds are full, but not fulfilled. When we carry unnecessary thoughts, questions, we block space for new, peaceful ones to enter. Think of your mind as a room filled with old furniture, broken chairs, dusty shelves, and things you no longer use. Questions. If you want to bring in something beautiful, a new idea, a fresh dream, you must first remove what's taking up the space. That's why it's important to practice mental minimalism. Questions. Focus on what matters, forgive what happened, and stop overthinking what might. A young man once told me, I feel so tired even when I do nothing. I smiled and said, questions. Maybe your mind is doing too much. Our minds are like computers. If too many tabs are open, it slows down. Questions. Simplifying means closing unnecessary tabs, the ones titled, what if, why, me, and what will people say? In relationships too, simplicity brings peace. Questions. Many people complicate their relationships with too many expectations. Questions. He should text first. She should say sorry. They should understand without me explaining. But love isn't a puzzle to solve. It's a presence to feel. Questions. When you stop expecting perfection from people and start appreciating their efforts, relationships become lighter, warmer, and happier. Let me share a small story. Once, questions. A monk was walking through a village with nothing but a bowl and a smile. A man asked him, how can you be so peaceful when you have nothing? The monk replied, you are mistaken. My friend, questions. I have everything: peace, gratitude, and freedom from unnecessary things. Sometimes we chase luxury and forget simplicity. Yet, the richest person is not the one who has the most questions, but the one who needs the least. Simplifying life also means simplifying our goals. Of course, ambition is beautiful, but overambition is dangerous. When we keep running after more and more questions, we never stop to enjoy what we already have. Have you noticed how some people achieve success but lose peace? That's because their outer success grew faster than their inner stillness. Questions. It's not wrong to dream big. Just don't make life a race where you forget to breathe. Another practical way to simplify your life is to simplify your schedule. Questions. Most of us fill our days with so many tasks that we end up being busy but not productive. We confuse activity with achievement. But sometimes, questions. Doing less with full attention is more powerful than doing more with half your heart. Start your day with 3 important things instead of 30. Prioritize peace, not pressure. And of course, questions. Let's talk about emotional simplicity. We hold on to too many things: grudges, regrets, guilt, and old pain. But carrying emotional baggage doesn't make you strong. Questions. It only makes the journey heavier. Imagine climbing a mountain with a backpack full of stones. Wouldn't it be easier to let go? Forgiveness and acceptance are the ways to simplify your heart. Questions. When you let go of what you can't control, you finally free yourself. There's a lovely practice called the 3 Laws of Simplicity. Less noise, less nonsense, less negativity. Questions. Start applying it in your daily life. Spend a few minutes in silence every morning instead of diving into notifications. Avoid unnecessary arguments. Not every opinion needs a reaction. Questions. And when something doesn't add value to your peace, simply say, "No, thank you." The simplicity doesn't mean emptiness. It means space. It means you finally have room for what's real peace. Questions. Purpose and presence. Imagine waking up one morning without rushing, sipping your tea slowly, feeling the sunlight on your face, and saying, questions. This is enough. That's happiness. Not in having more, but in wanting less. So, my dear friends, simplify your life. Declutter your space, calm your thoughts, and lighten your heart. Questions. Let go of what drains your energy and hold on to what nourishes your soul. Because when you live simply, you start to see clearly. And when you see clearly, questions, you realize that happiness was never hidden in complexity. It was waiting in simplicity all along. Questions. My dear friends, if there is one secret ingredient that can transform an ordinary life into an extraordinary one, it is gratitude. Gratitude is the art of seeing blessings even in the simplest things. Questions. Of focusing on what we have instead of crying over what we don't. It's not just a feeling, it's a way of living, a lens through which we can view life differently. Questions. Gratitude doesn't change our circumstances, it changes us. It turns what we have into enough, and more than enough. In our daily rush, we often forget how blessed we are. We wake up, questions, scroll our phones, rush to work, handle responsibilities, and somewhere in between we forget to pause and say, thank you. We live as if the next thing, the next promotion, questions, the next vacation, the next success will finally make us happy. But happiness doesn't come from getting more. It comes from appreciating more. Questions. Gratitude is the bridge between abundance and contentment. Let's take a simple daily example. You wake up in the morning and your first thought is, you. Questions. I have so much to do today. The moment you think that way, stress begins. But if instead you wake up and whisper, thank you, I got another day to live, breathe, questions, and try again, something magical happens. The same morning, the same tasks, but the energy shifts completely. Gratitude turns a regular day into a blessed one. You see, questions. Gratitude is not about waiting for perfect conditions. It's about realizing that even in imperfect conditions, there are perfect moments. When the rain falls, some people complain, "Oh no, questions, I'll get wet." Others smile and say, "How wonderful, the earth is getting nourished." The rain didn't change, but the mindset did. Gratitude is that mindset. Questions. Let me share a beautiful story. There was once a man who always complained about his shoes. "My shoes are old, my shoes are cheap, my shoes hurt." One day, while walking down the street, he saw a man sitting on the roadside with no legs at all. In that moment, he felt ashamed of his complaints and whispered, "Thank you, God, for my shoes and my legs to wear them." That day, he didn't get new shoes, but he walked differently, lighter, humbler, happier. Gratitude is powerful because it changes your perspective instantly. When you focus on what's missing, life feels heavy. But when you focus on what's present, life feels full. Imagine if you could only keep tomorrow what you were grateful for today. Wouldn't you start saying, "Thank you for everything"? The food you eat, the air you breathe, the people you love. We take them for granted until they're gone. Gratitude helps us see their value before life reminds us of it. In our relationships too, gratitude plays a magical role. So many families drift apart not because of big fights, but because they stop appreciating each other. A simple thank you can heal more than hours of argument. When a wife says, "Thank you for working hard for us," or a husband says, "Thank you for taking care of our home," or a child says, "Thank you, Mom and Dad, for your love," hearts melt. Appreciation is the oxygen of relationships. Without it, even love suffocates. Even at work, gratitude changes everything. When you're thankful for your job, instead of complaining about your workload, your motivation rises. When you appreciate your colleagues, teamwork blossoms. Gratitude turns obligation into opportunity. It makes you see your work not as a burden, but as a chance to contribute. Gratitude also gives us strength in pain. Life won't always be perfect. There will be loss, failure, heartbreak, and disappointment. But even in those dark times, gratitude can be your light. When something bad happens, try asking questions. What can I still be thankful for? That one question changes your entire emotional direction. You may not be thankful for the pain, but you can be thankful in the pain. For the lessons, the growth, the resilience it teaches you. Let's take an example. Imagine two people lose their jobs. One says, "Why me? This is unfair." The other says, "Maybe this is a chance to start something new." Who do you think will move forward faster? The one who finds gratitude even in setbacks. Gratitude doesn't deny the pain. It simply reminds us that there's more to life than pain. A grateful heart is also the best antidote to comparison. When you're truly grateful, you stop measuring your life against others. You don't look at your neighbor's car or your friend's salary or someone else's beauty, because you already know your own blessings. Gratitude turns jealousy into joy. It makes you realize that someone else's success doesn't take away from your own. There's a beautiful practice that can transform your mindset. Before you sleep each night, think of 3 things that went right that day. They don't have to be big. Maybe you had a delicious meal. Maybe you laughed with a friend. Maybe the sky looked beautiful at sunset. Write them down or just think of them. You'll notice something amazing. Your sleep will be deeper, your mind calmer, and your heart happier. That's the quiet magic of gratitude. Even science agrees. People who practice gratitude daily have better mental health, stronger immunity, and deeper relationships. Because gratitude rewires your brain to focus on positivity. It's like training your mind to see the good first. Let's imagine gratitude as the fuel tank of a car. Without it, even the best engine won't run smoothly. You can have dreams, goals, and success. But if gratitude is missing, you'll always feel empty. With gratitude, even a simple life feels rich. Questions. When you start saying thank you, not just with your mouth but with your heart, your whole life transforms. You stop chasing happiness. You start living it. Questions. You begin to realize that every breath, every sunrise, every smile is a gift. So, my dear friends, don't wait for something extraordinary to happen to be thankful. Be thankful first. Questions. And the extraordinary will begin to happen. The more you appreciate life, the more life appreciates you back. Questions. Start your mornings with thank you. In your nights with thank you. And watch how gratitude fills the space between those moments with peace, strength, and joy. Because truly, questions, gratitude is not just an act. It's the fuel that keeps the engine of happiness running.